Hey everybody, it's Daryl with Festa Radon here. I'm with Bill from Home Radon Pros. He's one of our local partners that we work with, and we're going to have a discussion today about helping you market and grow your business. So I was telling Bill, one of my biggest frustrations, having been in this since 1996, is that I hear so often that people don't know what radon is. And as an industry, I think our biggest failing has been awareness. We have done very little in the past 40 years to increase the public knowledge on what radon is. And so these efforts are to help the radon professional have their own corner of increasing awareness where they work and where they live. If we continue to wait on the industry to grow our businesses, we'll be waiting the rest of our lives. And as it is right now, for most radon professionals, they're highly dependent on the real estate market. And so when there's huge fluctuations in the real estate market, you find that business fluctuations are dramatic. You can be down 40% if the real estate market's down 40%. So I'd like to talk today about kind of a vision that I have for people growing their individual businesses. And it's all around testing. It's around putting tests in the hands of the people that are in your area in the least competitive environment that you can. And so one of the things that we've done is we've negotiated with one of the nation's largest testing companies our low-cost radon test. So for under $10, you can get a test that includes the test, the postage to get it to the lab's analysis, and the results emailed to the homeowner for under $10. And so my vision is I want every mitigator to make a commitment to making sure that 2 homes are tested for every home that they mitigate. And so what I see happening is, under the best case scenario, the homeowner that you're working for, whether they're doing it for themselves or for real estate, if you do a good job in creating a believer in radon and they buy in that radon is dangerous and they care, I would approach them and say, now that we've finished your radon system, one of the things that I do is I have an outreach program where I ensure 2 additional people get to test our home for radon for every house that I fix. And so I'd like to know if there's 2 people in your life that you would like to have test for radon. And hopefully the response will be, absolutely. I really want my mom to test and my sister to test. And you can say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 test kits, no charge at all, 2 business cards to go along with those test kits, and give them to your mom and give them to your sister. And when they get the results, have them give me a call, and I'll explain to them what that means for them and their family. If it's low, I'll tell them that it's low. If it's above the action level, I'll tell them that as well. The only caveat that I have is if you take it, please ensure that it gets done. The last thing I want to do is put a test in somebody's hands that isn't going to use it, that could be saving someone's life if they were to do it. And so hopefully they say, absolutely, I'll make sure that they get done. You know, if you don't have an opportunity to talk to a homeowner, you can talk to a next door neighbor. You can say, look, we just put a radon system in next door. One of the commitments I have for our outreach program is to ensure 2 additional people get to test. Educate the next door neighbor. Educate the realtor. Ask them if they know somebody. If you have to stop somebody in the line at a checkout to ensure that for every house that you mitigate, 2 more houses get tested, approach somebody and say, this may seem a strange conversation. I'm a radon professional. Radon is a cancer-causing gas in people's homes, which is very common. Have you ever tested? And if they haven't, very quickly tell them what that means to them, and hopefully in the end you give them a test kit to be one of the 2 people that you give one to. And so I think if we can ensure 2 people testing for every house that we mitigate, let's take an example. Let's say you do 1,000 systems a year, which means you're going to give away 2,000 test kits. If you give away 2,000 test kits and 10% of those turn into a job for you, you just did 200 more jobs. So you're going to do 1,200 systems the following year, and you're going to give away 2,400 test kits. And then that's going to result in 250 more jobs that year. And so it's like compounding interest. For every system that you do and 2 tests you give away, your growth is exponential the following year, and your business is going to get bigger and bigger. So that's one arm of how I think a very effective way of growing your business is. I think radon professional, maybe their biggest shortcoming is they're not loud and proud about what they do. I think everybody in your social circles should know what you do. People that your kids play Little League with, people you go to church with, if you're in a Moose Club or an Elk Club or Knights of Columbus. So I think the more people that know what you do, the more opportunity you'll have to ensure that people get a test in their hands. The more people are testing every year, the more systems get installed, therefore the more lives are saved. So that's the first arm.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more about the more tests you get into people's hands, the more jobs you're going to get. Especially in an area like ours where radon is so prevalent, getting that message out there, the more people that hear that, the more people are going to get their house taken care of. And if you can present a idea that your first goal is to provide a safe environment for them and their families and everyone around, it becomes a different type of sales call than I'm just here to install a mitigation system.
I think that's one of the things that has the most appeal to me with it is that there is a totally different environment that you're creating. And so the advantage you have is you worked for hopefully the friend or the relative of who you're giving the test kits to. So they're comfortable with you and they know your business, so you would certainly be the one that they refer. On top of that, you're the one who's kind enough to provide the free test kit. And so you're the one that has worked for a family member, you're the one that cared enough to make sure that they get the test kit, and you're the one conscientious enough to follow up. And so you're going to find yourself in far less competitive situations when you take this kind of approach.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. And the more you get your name out there in an environment that people are going to be giving you a call because they have a problem, then, and they're not calling your competitors, it's just going to help your business all the way around.
I think this is totally removing it from the real estate transaction, and I think it's allowing you to command a more reasonable and a fair margin for the expertise that you bring. You're not competing with other people, and it doesn't come down to price. It comes down to somebody that now has been educated on radon and has been brought to care. This is maybe a topic for another day, but one of the things that has worked very effective for me is I've explained to homeowners and people that I've encountered to have a radon conversation about, is explaining that it's very similar to the radiation that comes from x-rays. And everybody knows that x-rays are bad for you if you're exposed to too many. And I always use the story of my daughter. And so my daughter, when she was 5 years old and going into kindergarten, she's grown up now, but we had to get her a checkup to go into kindergarten. And the pediatrician sat my wife and I down after the doctor's appointment and said, we found a little bit of a problem. We don't want you to get alarmed. This is probably not a big deal, but it's significant enough that we need to discuss it. And they said, your daughter's spine is curved at the bottom. And they said, this isn't really super unusual, and in most cases it resolves itself. But if it doesn't, we need to intervene. And so she needs to get x-rays periodically to ensure that it's starting to correct. And when her pediatrician got to 5 x-rays, they sat my wife and I down again and they said, look, Daryl's had 5 x-rays this year. It's kind of our comfort level, and so we're going to take a break. Now if she breaks an arm or breaks a leg, God forbid, we'll certainly do an x-ray. But absent that, we've reached our comfort level. When you explain to somebody that 1 picocurie of radon is the direct health equivalent of getting 5 chest x-rays a year, 50 chest x-rays a year, and the action level is 4 picocuries, which is 200 chest x-rays, and you said, is it okay if your toddler gets 200 chest x-rays this year? They say, what are you, nuts? That's crazy. Say, from a health standpoint, that's exactly what your family's experiencing. So doctors stop at 5, and we start fixing radon at 200. That really puts things in perspective for people.
Well, it does, and the amount of statistics out there are phenomenal, and the different organizations are spread across a wide variety. You have the American Lung Association, American Cancer Society, you have the DEP, the EPA, that all have these figures that should all be part of your sales process and your sales call. And if you make it one of your goals to educate the consumer about the reasons behind it, it'll make you look a lot better. And like I said, if your goal's not there to just throw in a radon system, if it's to sell a safe home environment, it creates a different type of sales.
I agree. I think the one thing about radon is it's compelling. I mean, we have everything that we need to make a strong case. And I've just come to the conclusion that we have to make it 1-to-1-to-1 and educate one family at a time, one person at a time, one realtor at a time. And if we do that, we'll see the growth.
Absolutely. The the fight to the radon industry is still out there. I run into people every day that, you know, say, "Oh, I don't believe that. That's a bunch of bunk." And, you know, you can say, well, you know, there's so many statistics out there, and it's not just one study that's happened one time. I mean, you can go to the internet and you can find several multiple studies by several accredited organizations that are going to supply you with more information and statistics and life scenarios that will, you know, allow you to present some pretty staggering statistics to
I think
people
that's
that are all true too. And that's the key. When you sell stuff like that, when you're selling a statistic, it's a lot easier to sell it when you know that it's been researched and studied, and you're not just spouting something that maybe.
I think that's really true. And I think the other aspect when you encounter a cynic is saying, you know, if you take a step back and really look at it fairly, radon is a radioactive gas. It emits radiation. And there's really not a whole lot of dispute that prolonged exposure to radiation is certainly harmful. You can debate how much you have to be exposed to or how long you have to be exposed to it, but that's even a challenging argument because everybody's different. Everybody's genetic predispositions to cancer are different, so any amount of radiation exposure is too much. And so most people will take a step back and not debate about radiation when you frame it that way. And so I think it is a compelling case.
So that's one of the things we tell them, that the higher the radon level is in their house, the higher the radiation level is in your house, and it's not a good thing. You don't want it there.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's that simple. You know, it's you know, people understand that.
So I love this new technology, and I find it to be a tremendous marketing tool. These are the EcoSense products that are continuous radon models designed for the homeowner, the consumer. The really awesome thing about the newest technology is how responsive it is. And so this is the Eco Blue. That's called the Eco Q. And if you place it in somebody's home, within 20 minutes, it'll give them their first radon reading. And then within an hour, it'll give them the first very accurate radon reading. So in my opinion, every mitigator should own 5 to 10 of these as a marketing tool. If you attend a church, you can lend it to somebody that you go to church with, and then make the offer that it can float around the church so everybody that wants to test their home for radon has the opportunity to. And then you can go and explain to them what the results mean. If your kids play Little League or soccer, you can make sure that it floats around the parent group that's there, explain to them what you do for a living, why it's important to test for radon, and what it can mean to their family from a health standpoint. I've had the idea that these could be consigned out to real estate offices. You could take your local Coldwell Banker or Howard Hanna or Century 21 or Berkshire Hathaway, and you could say to the realtors, one thing I'm going to do for you is consign to you this radon monitor. And so if you're going to list a property, you can do a radon test before listing it. If it comes up good, you can say there's been a test done, the radon levels are fine. If you test high, you can address the radon before listing the property, so it's a non-issue. And so these realtors will have the opportunity to go around, and if they find out there's a radon issue, you can come in and mitigate it so that radon isn't an issue that's found inconveniently in the middle of the real estate transaction. One of the things that I like the most about this, and this really goes towards the idea that every mitigation company, whether you're a sole proprietor and you run the whole business yourself, or you have employees, there should be somebody assigned as the person in charge of community outreach. And I think every radon professional should do some community outreach. And I like the approach of saying that we start with the highest at-risk groups. One of the things that really jumps out are people that are undergoing cancer treatments. Okay, and so I would think it would be a great idea to go to a Facebook group for cancer support and reach out on the website and say what you do. I'm a radon professional. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. We're passionate here about what we do. And so we have an outreach program where we extend free radon testing to particularly high-risk groups. If somebody is undergoing cancer treatment, getting chemotherapy or radiation, the last thing they want to do is come to a home environment where it's compromising their treatments. And so you can make an appointment and do it one of two ways. You can either lend out one of these continuous monitors and allow it to make its way throughout the group, schedule when you drop it off to give a presentation to the group, explain to them what radon is, why they should care about it, especially if someone undergoing cancer treatments. When it's made its rounds, whether there's 25 or 35 or 50 people, come back and interpret everybody's results for them. You can do that, or you can take the free test kit idea, and you can, with much quicker results, obviously, pass out radon test kits to all the people that are in this cancer support group and ensure that they have the opportunity to test. Once you compile all those results, you can individually talk to these people and explain to them what it means. A great one and a passionate group of people are moms groups. Young kids, especially infants, toddlers, are particularly high risk for radon because their lungs are developing, they're not fully formed. And so the radiation exposure puts children at greater risk than adults. And so reaching out to a mom's group and explaining to them that children are at a greater risk for radon and radiation than an adult, although it's certainly dangerous to everyone, that because of that, you ensure that new moms and moms of infants and toddlers have the opportunity to test their own for radon, give out these test kits, or lend out the monitor. And so for an investment of $150, you can go from group to group to group and have literally hundreds of people test their house for less than $1 a home with these, or for $10 a home with these. Both of those are going to result in a substantial amount of business and lives saved by doing that. And so all of these different and unique and clever ideas for ensuring that people test their homes for radon are very good. One, because we're removing real estate from the equation, we're putting ourselves in less competitive environments, and we're educating people one at a time. And one of the things I always did was, if I created a believer, and a lot of my presentation when I would do a quote when I was a radon mitigation contractor was in education, creating believers. My goal was, when I leave this house today, these people are going to believe that radon's real, and they're going to care about it, and they're going to let the other people in their lives know, hey, you're not going to believe this, but we just had to have a radon system put in, and we found out that, here in Pennsylvania, the average reading, back in the day when I did it, rates anywhere between a 10 and a 10.4 for every home ever tested in the state, averaged out. That means the average Pennsylvania family is being exposed to the equivalent of 500 chest x-rays a year. That's shocking and stunning, and there aren't too many people that are going to hear that and not be concerned and compelled to act.
You would think so.
Right, you would hope so.
You would hope so. But you're right. These things provide a situation that you can give to your customer or potential customer that's going to give them a result kind of without you absent, without you, or their own individual result, without anything you've done, where you're not coming in and giving them the result. They can simply see the number on this one, I think download it to an app on their phone with this one here. And it in addition to that, those devices, when you're getting a reading like that that's higher above the elevated level, they're going to let you know, and they're going to encourage that you get it fixed.
Way back many years ago, I was using the first company that did a continuous radon monitor for the consumer. They were far less responsive. They had to sit for 48 hours before you got your first reading. But I had one floating around church. And I noticed that after church, people would pull me aside and say, Joe lent me that radon monitor that you lent him, and my reading, it said, it was a 9.6. Is that good? Is that bad? What does that mean? And it would give me an opportunity to have a conversation and explain to them, and then in most cases make an appointment to come out to their house and look over their situation and explain in more detail what it meant to them. This is so much better because it's so responsive and it's much faster, and I didn't know what their reading was when it was in their house, but the added ability of the app is tremendous because you will know who has it. One thing to add to the equation to even make it more effective is have a sign-up sheet. And so just have what travels with it, a clipboard that tells you where it's at, or just say, please shoot me an email when you have the device so I can at least track where it's at. That gives you the ability to communicate with the person. But most people, that when they lend it to the next person in line, are going to explain it like, the action level is 4. You want that reading that you see to be less than that. If not, you should probably do something about it. And, Bill lent that to me. You need to talk to him. Here's his card, or here's his number, or the card's on top of the device.
So, with the ones that we have, we put a laminated label on them, and we say something like, please give this to a friend, and if there's no one that you can give it to, please call our number and we'll come pick it up.
Yeah.
We probably have about 7 or 8 of those at least.
I think that's a great idea. In fact, when we talked before, we sat down, I think you made a great point in that this only works if you take it seriously. If this becomes an integral part of your business where you say, look, I am committed to growing my business through radon awareness, and you have to dedicate and set aside time to do it, every week and every month, and really to track your success. We've been experimenting with this with this program for a while, and we've had some test studies where it's been done, and it has resulted in market growth for everyone that's worked the program. And so I think the important thing is, how focused are you as a business on growing right now? Are you happy with the status quo? And more than anything, I'm going to wrap up with this. One of the things that is very upsetting to me is when I go to a national conference for radon, and someone stands at a podium and says 21,000 people die every year from radon-induced lung cancer. Ironically, that's the same speech that I heard 25 years ago from a similar podium. Now, if we were doing our job as radon professionals, that would bother us tremendously, and we're not doing good enough. What should be happening is saying, because of our efforts, because of testing, because of mitigation, because of our awareness that we're working on, 17,000 people died this year instead of 21,000. And that's still far too many. And as an organization, we are not going to rest until nobody dies from radon-induced lung cancer, because it's preventable. But success is seeing that number go down every year. And the only way the number goes down every year is if more and more people test their home, and when they come up high, they fix. And I think that that is a burden, and also a really worthwhile, it's a noble cause. I think what we do for a living is noble. I have a very special place for radon mitigation professionals. I think radon mitigation professionals truly go out every day and save lives. For every one of our fans that you install, a life is potentially saved. In fact, our slogan is "Our fans save lives." And so I think we should really, one, be proud of that, but two, take it seriously and develop, a new passion for radon awareness and radon testing, and at the same time have a very real benefit of growing our business through our efforts. And so I am 100% convinced that this will work exceedingly well if people work it, and we're here to support those efforts. We have the eco products in stock. We are actually selling the test kits at our cost, and so we're not looking to make a margin on this or have it as a profit center. We want it to be a tool for our mitigators to go out and grow their businesses and save lives in the process of doing that. So I really appreciate you sitting with me today. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this, as well as hear your insights, and I look forward to it working for you, just like it will for anyone and everyone else that decides to do this.
Well, thanks, Daryl. I can't tell you how much, what an opportunity is to just get the word out about this, because it is very important. And you're right, the more fans that get out there into people's homes installed, the more lives that will be saved. So.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for listening.